What's going on, Grace family? And welcome back to our midweek check-in. So last Sunday, we had our last full sermon on Psalm 23 as we got to the culminating point in verse 6 of Psalm 23 that says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." So we just talked through that a little bit, kind of from the world's perspective. You know, we're told things like everything's gonna be okay, and we get these empty promises from the world. But as followers of Jesus Christ, as we learn through our big idea that with Christ as our shepherd host, everything is going to be okay. So no matter what happens in life, no matter how much suffering we face, no matter how many trials we have to go through, He's conquered it, He's defeated it, and He's gifted that victory to us. And so we get to live within that, and we get to look forward to that day where He carries us home, He brings us home, and we'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And as promises to back that up, His goodness and His mercy, that Hesed love, pursues us every single moment of every single day. But here we are, we're in the middle of another week. The trials have come, the expectations hit, the overwhelming amount of life just continues on, and again we're tempted to think and move our shift away from the eternal and shift it back to the earthly things and kind of lose sight of the truths that we've talked about. And so what I wanted to do this week was just to read a verse that gifts us that eternal perspective and just encourage you in the middle of your week to keep living within that. So this is Colossians chapter 3. It's the first 4 verses, and it says this. It says, "If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. For you have died, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you will also appear with Him in glory." And so it says those two things, to seek the things that are above and set your minds on things that are above. And that's just a reminder in the middle of the chaos and the temptation to get kind of that worry and those fears arising, the overwhelming feeling and feeling like we're suffocating. It's just that reminder to set our minds on Him, to seek the things above, and to just have that eternal perspective. And when we have that eternal perspective, we can live within the truths that we talked about last week, that His goodness, His Hesed love is always pursuing us, and that everything is going to be okay, because every moment of our life has purpose. He's orchestrating it all, using it all, and He will one day carry us home. So I wanted to encourage you in that. I want to give you a little bit of a challenge beyond that as well, as we set our minds on things that are above. If you continue reading through Colossians chapter 3, it kind of explains that. Verse 5 begins by saying to put these things off, and then verse 12 begins by saying to put these things on. And it's this kind of list of, well, how can we really live with this eternal perspective? Well, here's a list of things to take off. Here's a list of things to put on. And it's one of the most I don't really know how to say it. All of God's Word is great, but this verse particularly talks about that transformational living, kind of that sanctifying life of continually becoming more like Christ if we live within these truths. So beyond keeping that eternal perspective, it's also going to give us a lot of tools to continually becoming more and more like Christ. So just some things for you to think through, look through that chapter, read through that chapter, set your mind on the things above, seek the things above, and within that, I think you're going to be able to find that peace and that trust that comes as His goodness and mercy keeps pursuing us. So looking ahead at this next Sunday, church, we're going to be actually doing a recap of Psalm 23. I'm going to get a handful of you involved. We're going to have extra prayer moments. We're going to have extra moments of worship through music. We're going to just kind of review the chapters so that we don't just move on and forget it, but really let it sink in and cement and take heart and take root in our hearts and in our lives. So we can look forward to that. So you have a great rest of your week. Pray through Colossians 3, and I look forward to seeing you back here Sunday morning at 9 a.m.